So the big tax question is this: how do wealthy people keep their money working for them when selling their business, real estate, or other highly appreciated assets without paying hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in tax? What if we, as business and real estate owners who have poured blood, sweat, and tears to growing our wealth, and who didn't hire expensive tax attorneys and CPAs to map out an exit strategy, knew their secrets? Instead of recreating the wheel, why can't we just model the way they deferred 30 to 50% in tax, paid off debt, funded their next business dream, and most importantly, leave a financial legacy to give to the causes we believe in most? What if their secrets weren't complicated at all, and you just need a guide who is a few steps ahead of you? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brett Swarts, and welcome to Capital Gains Tax Solutions. Welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust is the best way for you to grow your wealth. Hey, I'm your host, Brett Swarts. In each episode, I'm joined by some of the best financial independence and passive income wealth advisors in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. Hey, I'm excited about our next guest. She is a real estate expert. She's a syndicator. She is a coach. She is an author. She is from the great state of Puerto Rico, and as well is now in Southern California. And she's going to teach us a little bit more about real estate investing and about how to take massive action and how to syndicate deals and really just build your dream versus maybe building just someone else's dream, right? And so I'm excited to welcome our next guest, Jen Maldonado, to the show. Hey, Jen, how you doing?
I'm doing great. What about you, Brett?
Hey, better than I deserve. Thanks for being here. Would you give our listeners a little bit about your background and your current focus?
Yeah, definitely. Well, right now I am at raising capital. That's where I have been focusing on syndicating deals, but it has started on my, let's say, a corporate job, when at some point of my life I was going to get one of the biggest promotions, but I didn't want that kind of lifestyle. And I ended up talking to my brother, and he recommended me a couple of books to read about it. And as soon as I read, I call it the Purple Bible, and Rich Dad Poor Dad book, I knew that real estate was my path. And I went to classes and got educated. And after that, I just jump into action. I will say that right there, I remember taking my first 2 months of coaching, and on my third month, my goal was to close a deal. And that's how I started with duplex in Burbank, California. That was my first deal, where I bought my duplex with my 401k, but I didn't have an idea about real estate at all. And for me, the closest I got to real estate before 2012 was playing Monopoly with my dad, and probably we were in junior high school. So by the time that 2008 comes, I don't have an idea what's happening with real estate. I just knew that a lot of people got hurt on that process, and I was lucky that I got into 2012 and I started getting educated in the best years right away during that time frame to invest in real estate. Yes, it was part lucky, but also it was about taking action for me and being willing to learn and make mistakes. Because for any real estate investor, if you don't make mistakes, you're not going to learn, you're not going to play big. And that's something that for me was a little bit challenging. But literally, I come from an engineer background, corporate world in a small island in Puerto Rico to Los Angeles, California, to learn how to deal with real estate, escrow companies, and learn how to put money together. Because yes, you make a little bit of money, but California is really expensive. And if you're living here and you're starting, it's a little bit challenging to be on your own and trying to invest in real estate. So quickly I learned that working with other people in real estate was going to be one of the key strategies for me to be successful and accelerate my results. But that's a little bit about what happened with me in the real estate world.
I love that. What a story and what a journey. And I'm looking forward to diving into that. And I'm curious though, before your success as a real estate syndicator, operator, coach, author, who was Jen growing up? And not so much just who, but more so, I want you to think of the time when you were growing up and maybe that gift that you were given. And in fact, I think we're all been given a certain gift in this life, at least one, maybe a few, but what is that one gift, the best gift, maybe that you feel you've been given, and how does that help how you help people today?
Oh, wow. That's an awesome question. I would say that one of the things that was given to me was the gift of putting people together and creating something great. It didn't matter what we have to deal with. I understood the power of bringing people together. And when you do that, you are creating teams, you are creating communities, you are creating syndications, you are creating, you name it. You're creating solutions to the biggest problems. And for me, real estate was about solving problems more than anything else. And I think that skill of leadership and understanding the value of people's minds, hearts, and soul allow me to not only raise at this point for projects, probably like at this moment, I think we are around $80 million. But it allowed me to do that, but also allow me to create communities like the Rent Inspires that we are now 7,000 members, women investing in real estate across, nationwide. So
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. I love that, Jen. Yes. Being willing to learn and make mistakes is what you learned before, but
yeah,
then uniting people and bringing them together is absolutely a gift, right? And sometimes we don't know we have this gift until we're actually using it, right? For like big challenges, right? You might know, on a smaller scale, but then you go off on your own and you're like, oh, this actually, I can make this work too. This gift can bless other people. I can bring everyone together, especially syndications, which can get kind of complicated, right? With
yeah.
money and wealth. And so $80 million, that's amazing. With that, I'm curious, what's the most rewarding part of what you do?
Well, there's multiple of them. I'm gonna tell you the first one when I started was to give back the check to an investor because I never saw that amount of money and cash at the same time. And I felt very proud that I play on that specific moment because I knew that this wasn't only about the money that I helped them make, but also we were about to change their life. This is people that they were looking to do the same thing I did, leave my corporate job and become passive investors. And I was helping them to have more time to spend with their family. So that was one of the most rewarding things. And the people like crying, and it's like, especially for women, we tend to be very emotional. It was an amazing experience. That's one of the biggest rewarding things. But the second thing is I have seen, for example, me teaching other people how to raise capital, how it had shifted their lives, their businesses, that they become from not being able to do one deal to do three, or from people that were doing 3 deals to do now 12 deals a year. So seeing that process of growth and knowing that you put a seed that help them grow as human beings, but also as really badass real estate investors, that's something that it's hard to explain, but it just feels right, right? It just fills you. And you know that it doesn't matter how much money you raise, how much money you make for other people, that feeling doesn't have any price. And I think that has been my driver, being able to plant that seeds in multiple people's life, and yes, in the real estate arena. But what I teach to them is literally how to remove from the mindset concept everything that is stopping them from getting what they want, and having the motivators, the drivers, to how do you do it technically, because that's really important. But that psychology first portion will be critical for the other 20% that I will be sharing with them. But that portion for me has been the most rewarding, teaching and planting those seeds in their lives and businesses.
That is so well said. You can write a book on that right there, right? There was so much value there and so much inspiration. And I just want to make sure I encapsulate it. So it's not just the money, right? It's not just the deals. It's really the transformation that the money, which is a tool, allows families to have, whether it be building wealth and giving to, let's say, charities or causes, or letting them leave their W-2 job, right? And be able to explode their passion for helping other people like that you've been able to do, right? And so, and then the second part of that is just seeing that growth inside of somebody, being able to coach them, planting that seed, helping to provide that 80%, which is the emotional, behavioral, psychological part. And that 20% is the head knowledge, right? You can go to Google and get that head knowledge, right? You can go to YouTube and get a lot of that head knowledge. But it's that connection as human beings and that ability to speak life and encouragement and help to break down those barriers, right, of false beliefs and challenges. That's the most rewarding part. Is that a fair summary?
Oh yes, you encapture everything that I was trying to say. Pretty precise.
Perfect. Yeah, and I can see it because you said it well. And so thank you for sharing that. So now let's shift a little bit more into the tactical now. I want to shift to maybe the top 3 secrets that you have found for a real estate syndicator. And maybe a lot of our guests are more probably the 3 to 10 deals, right? And they're looking to maybe scale to that 9, 12, or 15, right? They're typically high net worth individuals, very successful, have owned commercial real estate for years. So walk us through that scale for, let's say, that person who has 3 deals and wants to get to 9 or 12. What's the top 1, 2, or 3 things they can do right now?
Yeah, for the 3 to 10, the first one is this is the time to really nurture your relationships and create a lead generation system with different investors. This is where you really want to start establishing your systems that will allow you to scale up when you start getting into the big funds over the $100 million. So, and there's different ways on how you can get those leads, right? There's a lot of ways that you can educate and people will be attracted to you, that you can connect with people, that you can get in touch with the investor that you are looking for, because it will be critical too that you have very clear who is the investor that you're looking for, because there will be different levels of investors, different experiences, accredited, non-accredited, that you will have to define. But that will be the first thing. The second thing is, I will say, is how do you present your deal? So now that you bring all of those potential investors that they're interested, they have the money, they have the experience, how do you share your deal? So it's pretty straightforward. So there you have to educate yourself on how to be persuasive, how to really deliver the message and make it very clear, so you can create not only certainty, credibility, and deliver what is the deal about, but also this is where people start seeing you as an expert on what you do. And that portion of learning how to pitch a deal, how to execute, and the steps between them will be very critical to really start shifting from a 3 to 10 deals person to start pitching to the millions of dollars. And that's right there a really key success. And even what you put on that pitch will be critical in who you are speaking to. When you are speaking to someone who normally invests $100,000, and they have certain level of knowledge in real estate, is very different than when you go to a family office and if you don't have a deal of $10 million, don't talk to me. It's very different. The information is contained. And I will say the 3 most important element that even most sophisticated syndicators forget, it's as simple as keeping a healthy relationship with the investors. And what does that mean? I'm talking about constant communication. I'm talking about delivering the information of the progress and how things are happening, but also understanding that the people behind the money is still people too. And if you don't consider them and you build those relationships, then you're going to be missing out upcoming opportunities. Remember that raising capital is not about a one date. And that's my concept. This is about creating an engagement and a commitment, or a marriage, right? This is where you find your partners. This is where you find maybe your money for many, many years to come, for many deals. And they forget about that. So I think those are the 3 key elements that has helped me scale up so quickly. The first one, lead generation. The second one, delivering that message, that deal. And the third one, keeping those healthy relationships. And it doesn't matter if you're in the 3 to 10 or if you are in the 100 millions, still the same concept. It's just the information and how you deliver will be very different. That I would say that that's the main challenges there.
Absolutely love that, and so well said. Yeah, building the systems, getting the clarity and education, making sure you're defining your ideal customer or client or partner, right? Making sure you're speaking to them on their level, and then making sure you're maintaining this healthy relationship. Realizing that this isn't just like a one-time transaction. This is a long-term relationship, and seeing it not just like a date, but like a marriage, right? Because you're going to be serving their family and you're going to be partnering with them, and so taking that mindset will help to keep the health of the whole syndication, the whole deal. So is that a fair summary?
Yep, that's a pretty fair summary. I try to keep it simple. I mean, we can get very technical, but I think that high-level overview help a lot of people. The key is to engage with and meet other professionals that can help you with the how to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're all using our gifts and talents and then working as a team to move the mission forward for every company. So that is awesome. So would you break down also to maybe your syndication coaching, right? So folks might be saying, yeah, well, that's cool. I've been owning 3 to 5 properties. Well, what does that look like practically speaking? I get the why behind it. So, but what would Jen be able to offer me for syndication coaching?
Well, for me, it's pretty simple. And here's the first thing. This is not about me. This is about them. I teach them that psychology part from removing the limitations on in regards to money and using other people's money. That right there opens a completely different door for a lot of investors, especially for those who are between the 3 and 10 properties, because there are some things limiting them. But then the other part that I focus a lot is how do you pitch the deal to the level of investor that you're going to be speaking to? And how do you bring your resources together? Who are your key players to help you succeed on structuring these deals and keeping those healthy relationships? And I'm talking about lawyers, syndicators from any levels, financial advisors that can help you with your specific structures, right? If we're talking about Delaware Statutory Trust, if we're talking about index accounts, insurance, cash value insurance policies, that's a very specialized thing. How do you use these tools? So I walk over that and teach you the different ways that you can do this and give you access to those experts. Because, if you don't have the access, then how do you make it happen? So in the program, we start with your needs. We teach you the fundamentals of raising capital. And then how do you build those relationships? What happened after they wire your money? And it's just a comprehensive program that covers the psychological thing and the how to.
Love it. Yep. And I found that if you can find an expert who's just a few steps ahead of you, right, and just helps you to get through that barrier that's blocking, that's just stopping you or blocking you, it can open up a whole new world. And that's certainly a big one, right, is helping or investing with other people's money and alongside partnering, right, and doing deals. It can really open up the door for everyone, because not everyone is the best operator or the best, raising capital or finding and brokering the deal or selling the deal. Like there's all these, the attorneys, all of this is basically building like a dream team around you, right, and bringing in trusted folks. And then if you're working with Jen, she can help accelerate that, right, because she already has the dream team, right? So she's like, hey, come on in. We'll also coach you how to do it as well. So is that a fair summary, Jen?
Yeah, that's a fair summary.
Awesome. All right. So let's move into a little bit about the challenges with capital gains tax. We touched on the brief interview. For those who haven't listened to that, it's a quick 10-minute interview on our Facebook page. You can go to Capital Gains Tax Solutions and look that up. But that being said, Jen, what's the biggest frustration you, a client or a partner, has had when it comes to capital gains tax deferral? And this time, maybe focus it on the syndicator, right? How do you, Jen, if someone's coming to you with a 1031, can you make that happen, or why can't you? Or B, when you sell your deal and you come to, you're finishing it out, is everyone paying their tax? Walk us through those challenges.
Definitely. You touch on that topic, which is, I think, is one of the most critical. I get a lot of investors that they're trying to get from one property to another one in a 1031 exchange. And I have to tell you that the biggest challenges is timing for these structures. They want a specific property, specific details. And there's times that I can work with my team and put something together that align with that. And I can bring an expert to help us structure the deal. But what happened most of the time is some of these investors call me a week before they're about to close or after they close. And at that time, it's like, I can't do anything for you right now. So there's different things that happen there. But I think the biggest challenge is timing in regards to planning. When you are going to sell a property, you have to do some ahead planning. You have to plan ahead of time, and that includes your tax advisors. That includes someone to talk to, someone like you, Brett. They can give you a call, contact you. They should plan for 1031 exchange. So it's not as let's just do it right away. But my biggest challenge always been that timing and having to work something with a 1031 exchange expert. And sometimes I cannot help them. And what I ended doing is recommending them to other bigger funds with some relationships that I have, that they include Delaware Statutory Trusts and DSTs too, that can help them, because at that time it might be too late for me. But in a syndication, one of the biggest challenges has been that moment when I'm about to fund everything, and suddenly they told me 3 days before, by the way, this money is coming from a syndicate, from a 1031 exchange. At that time, it's like, I'm supposed to reach 10 investors and see if they can agree for this 1031 exchange. What are you doing? So I learned the lessons pretty quickly, Brett, on asking where the money is coming from right from the start. It was one of my rookie mistakes, right? And I learned how to do it about sending the letter, working with a 1031 exchange expert. But definitely, I think that has been my biggest challenge, that time frame, that they don't give me enough time to be able to execute properly. I have found some proactive ways to deal with it, but yeah, I would say that's it.
Excellent. That's a great answer, and thank you for sharing that. And then I'm curious on the exit of it as well. So when you're ready to sell the deal, let's say you bought it for $5 million, you're selling it for 10. Are you doing a 1031 at that point, or are you sending each individual their portion and everyone's paying their tax?
No, it depends on the project, right? I want to know about them and what is that they want to do. If they want to stay in the projects, we can do a 1031 exchange structure with other people. Some of them, we have to talk to the tax advisor and the 1031 exchange expert to figure out if it's doable or not. Mostly, if we're going to do 1031 exchange, we have to come up with everyone, and we might have to bring someone to cover that person that doesn't want to be in, right? So it becomes a very labor intensive to replace investors in order for us to do the 1031 exchange. And one of my favorites for those is when we have a deal. I haven't done opportunity zones very often, but when I have an opportunity zone or a DST or any of those, then right away I'm looking for those 1031 exchange people.
Got it. Absolutely. So just to encapsulate what Jen is saying too, is sometimes you can get people to replace, right? If the whole entity, imagine it's 10 people, right? And so sometimes if someone or two want out or one wants out, you get someone to replace their spot, and then you can continue the exchange, is what Jen's saying. But sometimes you can't, and that's where some of the syndicators, where they're like, there's too many people that are bailing on us, too many people don't want to do the 1031 or whatever, right? So they end up just all paying the tax. What they don't realize with the Deferred Sales Trust, which is, by the way, not a Delaware Statutory Trust, you can put each individual into their own individual trust, defer all the tax, and then guess what? Half of them could pay the tax, or the other half could just, do the DST. And then they can also put that money back into the next real estate deal via an LLC, which is, I know is probably music to your ears, Jen, because it doesn't involve an exchange. You're like, oh, you're investing with an LLC? That's simple. That's how most of my investors do it, right? Yeah. So that is powerful as well. Any thoughts on that, or does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it's pretty simple. I mean, I think that for people who are passive investors, they need to define how long they want to stay in a project, understand the different exit strategies. That's the most critical for me. I always start with the end goal in mind and talk to people like you, other 1031 exchange experts that can guide them how they can get there. And I think that's some of the things that has been very successful for me and working with my investors. When they get to talk to me, we just do those conversations, because then I need to connect you with them or other experts that can help them trace the path of how it looks like, so they can keep the wealth in the family and not give the money to Uncle Sam, which
Absolutely.
yeah.
Which is, no one likes to do that, right? Because they'll waste it away pretty quick. That being said, have you ever had somebody who was in a failed 1031? In other words, they had already identified their 45 days has passed, and they call you and they're like, Jen, I didn't identify your project. Can I get in? And what do you say to them then?
No. Too late.
So it used to be too late. So I just want to let everyone know, we just saved a failed 1031 exchange in Georgia, $7.6 million multifamily property, 128 units. And this gentleman has bought and sold properties for 30 years. He actually lives in Northern California, and he was faced with $1.1 million in tax. Okay. And so he was past his 45th day. He did not identify the Deferred Sales Trust. You don't need to, but he was able to save his failed 1031 and move it into the Deferred Sales Trust. And now he's actually with an apartment syndicator right now. He put $2 million into a hard money lending fund. And in the meantime, they're going to be looking for multifamily deals at a discount in the future, but all tax deferred, Jen. And so for the listeners, we can save a failed 1031.
Yes, I'm so, when we start chatting about this, Brett, I feel like such a relief, because now I have a way to help those people that call me too late. I can say, hey, Brett, a reliable resource, can you help them out?
You got it.
Very important. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and then likewise, our goal is to turn around and then say, hey, Jen's a great person to invest with, right? Up to 80% of the funds can be used into commercial real estate syndications with yourself or with partners the next day, right? And so it's a beautiful way to raise capital. We just did a Cupertino deal as a single family home, which is also interesting too, right? Because single family primary residences don't qualify for the 1031.
Yes.
So most syndicators, the primary homeowner sells the $3.1 million house, they pay all this tax, and then they show up with the money, but instead they could use the DST and then have all that extra. So it's kind of like 1031ing from a primary into investment property. It also works for businesses. We're also doing a cryptocurrency deal. We're doing a horse deal in Kentucky, any highly appreciated asset. But the 1031 only works for investment property, right? So it's a very small sliver. But now as a syndicator, you can open up your whole world to all of these other highly appreciated assets, which guess what? Most people want to be in multifamily, mobile home parks, senior housing, those types of investments, hotels, but they don't know how to get there without paying all the tax. So the Deferred Sales Trust is a solution for that. But enough about that commercial. If you're interested, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. But in the meantime, Jen, are you ready for the lightning round?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Here we go. Knowing what you know now, Jen, if you could go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget you would make sure you told yourself to do?
Oh, 25. I should have started investing earlier in real estate.
Simple, right? Yeah, I would too. That's the same thing I would have done. Excellent. What is the one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year? And yes, it could be your own book there.
Well, I love my book, but I think the one that shifted my perspective from a high level overview was Think and Grow Rich.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And by the way, tell us about your book too, for those who don't know. What's the book that you have for everybody?
Yeah, definitely. I have You Got This book. I read it with a couple of badass women, and we teach women some tips on how to invest in real estate. So we give them different perspective on how we started and which are our specific expertise. So, and people love it. And we have a bunch of guys that they say, oh my God, I love the book. So
yeah, guys, gals, doesn't matter. You guys pick up a copy. Number 3, give me a digital or mobile resource, please, that you recommend for your business.
For the business, in which area?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just get a digital mobile resource that you recommend for the business.
You know what? A digital resource. I love my REI Black Book. it's a CRM system. I get to connect that. But my favorite, okay, let me take that back. My favorite is bannerseason.com because I get to send really cool things to people. And when I'm building that relationship, I get to send them things in the mail and they get to, remember me all the time. So bannerseason.com.
Bannerseason.com.
Correct. Yes.
Perfect. Favorite leadership quote or theme that you try to live by?
One that was very impactful for me was from Jim Rohn. He says that motivation is what gets you started and habit is what keeps you going.
Love that.
That's something that really, nail it for me.
Love it. Love it. So well said. What are you curious about right now?
What's going to happen with the entire situation with feds printing money without any restrictions now? That really scares me.
Absolutely. How do you stay centered after all of your success, after everything you've learned? And we're winding down here. This is just the last question here. The wealth, the ability to impact others, your whole journey. How do you stay centered on your values and then also stay encouraged to reach for new goals?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that one of the things I have done that not only create motivations for me, but keeps me centered, it's writing the story of who I want to be as a human being more than anything else, and spending time meditating on that. And how does it look like out there and the different areas of my life, from the physical, spiritual portion to the finances, to the career, to the inspiration to other people. I would say that that's what it really keeps me centered.
Love that. Visualizing and writing the story, right? And reminding yourself of, hey, who do I want to be, and striving for that. Excellent. And then for our listeners who want to get in touch with you, Jen, what's the best place for them to find you?
Well, definitely. I love when people join to Invest with Jen and Facebook group, because I get to share some of the things that I'm doing personally and also from the business perspective. They can also reach me at jen@jenmaldonado.com, or my website is Jen Maldonado. And I have a new YouTube channel, Catch the Spark, that it's been launched this week. And I will be sharing a lot of this information about raising capital. So.
Love it. Well, Jen, I want to thank you for being on the show, sharing your ideas, deal stories, inspiration, expertise. So inspiring for everybody. I want to encourage you to reach out to Jen. If you're looking for commercial real estate syndication coaching, if you're looking to get into real estate, take some action here or some inspiration, all of the above. And also thank our listeners for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. As always, we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, such as 1031 exchange, such as Opportunity Zone, is the best way for you to grow your wealth. Hey, with that, please take some massive action and share this, subscribe, rate, review. That really helps us to help people defer capital gains tax and build more wealth. Thanks so much.
You have just listened to another information-packed episode of Capital Gains Tax Solutions with Brett Swarts. We hope you enjoyed today's show and found it helpful. Visit capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to access the show notes and to access more resources. Don't forget to leave a review and join us again next time.